All right. Welcome to another week of AFC East Summit. I'm your host with the most, Chris with Pats Nation, and I'm joined by another wonderful week of football talk. And of course, I have my great crew with me. We have Anthony, we have Dolphin Keith, and we have Sean of the Red, White, and Bills podcast. Welcome, guys. How we all feeling tonight?
Feeling very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm feeling excited, Chris. Feeling very excited. Football is
Yeah.
finally back. Almost.
Yeah. 2 more days to the official start of the NFL, and I'm loving it. I know I'm buzzing over here. I got a lot of energy. I'm excited for the game. Um, Very interesting news coming from the Chiefs camp. It looks like Travis Kelce has hyperextended that knee, so he may miss that very first game of the season. So that's unfortunate for anyone who went high and drafted him in the first round. That's a big loss right there, and hopefully it doesn't linger too long and hurt him throughout the regular season. So, Sean, how you feeling over there?
Pretty good, man. It's another minute
Okay.
closer. It's gotta
Yes.
get us through the week.
Yes, sir. Yeah, yes, sir. And it's always good to have you on the show. And Anthony, our Jets rep, always a pleasure having you. So I'm ready to hear some. I know that Sunday's game, we definitely have the Bills versus the Jets Sunday. So I know there was a lot of fireworks. There was a lot
Monday
of fireworks.
night.
Monday night.
Monday night, baby.
Oh,
I wish
Monday
it was
night.
Sunday.
9/11.
Sunday. Okay. So I know there was a lot of fireworks between you guys last week. I'm ready to see a continuation of that, and then definitely the Monday night game when we get the conclusion of the fireworks, and we'll see who really is going to be the king of Week 1, right? Okay. So with that, we'll go ahead and get our show started, guys. All right. So we've got a couple good topics for tonight's show. We'll start with our main topic. What are some of our Week 1 predictions? How do we see the Week 1 going for our teams, our respective matchups? So we know we have the Patriots versus the Eagles, the Jets versus the Bills, and we have the Dolphins versus the Chargers. We'll start with you, Keith. So Keith, how you feeling about that matchup with the Chargers? How you think the Dolphins are going to fare against them?
Well, Chris, when I look at this matchup between the Dolphins and the Chargers, I can't help but look at their matchup last year. On December 11th, the Dolphins played the Chargers on Sunday Night Football. And it was a rough game for the Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa, in particular, had a really bad game. His stat line for that game was 10 of 28 for 145 yards, and 1 TD. And no, that's not a. And no, that's not a. I didn't misspeak when I said 10 of 28. Now, his one touchdown pass was a 60-yard bomb to Tyreek Hill on a blown coverage by the Chargers. So outside of that blown coverage, Tua Tagovailoa's line would have been 9 of 27 for 85 yards. That would have been his stat line for the game. So he was really bad. And the reason for that was the Chargers took away the middle of the field from the Dolphins, just completely eliminated the middle of the field, which was, to that point in the season, the Dolphins' bread and butter. So one of my biggest criticisms of Mike McDaniel last season and going into this season was that, one, he didn't run the ball enough. The Dolphins never seemed all that interested in establishing the run. And two, I didn't like that Mike McDaniel didn't make enough adjustments on the fly. He didn't make the necessary adjustments on the fly. So in that game, when the Dolphins tried to continue to throw the ball down the middle of the field, kind of forcing a square peg into a round hole, it just didn't work for them. Their offense was stagnant for pretty much the entire game. So what I'm looking for from the Dolphins in this game is to, run the ball more. I want to see something much closer to a 50-50 ratio, run to pass. And I want to see them check down and throw to the perimeter a little bit more often, because the Chargers kind of had the blueprint on how to beat the Dolphins for the rest of the season, where you just take away the middle of the field away from Tua, so he can't throw down a seam there, and you win. So how I see this game going, if I'm being honest about it, I think the Dolphins are going to probably lose in a close one. I'd say 27-24. Doesn't thrill me to say that, but that's kind of how I see things going.
Listen, I appreciate the honesty, Keith. As no one wants to see their team lose, but you can't win them all. If they won them all, then they'd be the early 2000 Patriots, right?
Mm.
Got to throw that in there, but definitely appreciate the honesty. Also, just want to go ahead and mention that AFC East is now on Nickel City Mafia. So anyone watching, you can catch us on there now. We are now a part of that channel. So big ups to Nickel City Mafia for taking the reins on there. So hoping to do great things in the future with that channel as well. Okay, but so now you mentioned that that last year the Chargers were able to take away that seam and take away Tua's bread and butter. We know that especially with speedy receivers like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, they definitely do well in coverage where they can drag across the field and lose a couple defenders and in missed coverages and things of that nature. So, do you
Yeah.
think that Tua's learned from that last season? Do you think that he's still going to be a type of player where he's going to rely only on the middle field? You think he's going to grow and the Dolphins are going to come back with some new schemes for this year?
Well, I think that a game like that has to force everybody, coaching staff and all the players alike, to grow together and realize that, okay, fine, the middle of the field worked for you for a while when you're playing the Lions and the Bears and the Texans, teams that, just aren't that good. But once you start to face better opponents, and you know what, it's also worth pointing out the Chargers defense wasn't all that great last year. I expected the Dolphins to put up a bunch of points on the Chargers that week, and they just never got anything going because they never moved out of trying to throw in the middle of the field. Tua didn't throw any interception in that game. He didn't throw any interceptions in that game, but he could have easily thrown 4. And I remember it was Asante Samuel. Asante Samuel Jr. alone dropped 2 interceptions in that game. So it was just, that stat line could have been so much worse. His passer rating for that game was 65.3, but could have been much lower. And Chargers didn't even have Joey Bosa in that game either. He was hurt. This show is on Nickel City Mafia, guys. Just so we're all aware. So they have to grow. They have to get better. I think Tua needs to learn to check the ball down more. He led the NFL in yards per attempt last season, and I think that it would actually behoove him to bring that number down a little bit, just to get the more easy completions, and not just trying to hit a home run every throw.
Okay. Very true. Very true. Yeah, I think Tua, I think part of a growing pain, and the rough thing about Tua, he's been plagued with so much injury, so he doesn't have as much playing time in the NFL as I feel like he would like. And then, part of the growing pain in the NFL, learning to really use your offense, maneuver down the field, not going for the big home run. I think that was a lot of problems for younger quarterbacks, just going for that either touchdown or bust type of play. So, but it's so easy when you have a player like Tyreek Hill. And I feel when you get receivers like that who are capable and they know they're capable and they want that ball, it also can put a lot of pressure on the quarterback to go ahead and, force feed that receivers to keep them happy, So we'll see how Tua definitely has grown. And we got Linda West. Welcome to the channel, Linda. Appreciate you joining us and thank you for watching.
Big win coming.
Yeah. So we got that. We got the trash talking already started for the Bills. So love to see that. But yeah, so I think I think he's going to grow, and I think this is going to be a big opportunity to see what he's learned in the offseason if he's built up that chemistry with his players. So I'm really excited to that game, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. I'm going to go ahead and give my prediction for the Patriots. I really don't see us coming out of this one with a W. The Eagles are no doubt one of the better defenses in the NFC. And they've have some big pickups all season. They've added Terrell Edmonds to their safety from the Steelers, so I think that's going to take away a lot of our downhill and deep field pass attack. And Reed Blankenship has also earned that first team. He's also first on the depth chart for their safeties. If I remember correctly, Reed Blankenship, he was one of the players that they had while they was dealing with injuries, and he really showed improved last season. So it looks like he earned a spot on that permanent roster. So definitely when you have one of those players who step up from that practice squad, it's really because these guys have like a lot to show and a lot of potential. So It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how the Patriots perform. And Mac Jones, I really haven't built a lot of confidence. I know we have our OC. We've added some pieces to our offense, mostly our wide receivers and our running back. So it looks like we have the capability, but it's all going to be rely on the shoulders of Mac Jones. So I'm really looking to see how he's going to perform under the new OC. If they've made any big adjustments in that all season to really show that, hey, they are an offensive threat. They really suffered last year. Their defense, I always have confidence in them. But if the offense can't be on the field and stay on the field long and, give that defense some rest, then it's really a recipe for disaster in the long run. So, um, how do I see the score going? If I had to be honest, I'd probably say Eagles 30, Patriots 17. But we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping, you always pray for the best and plan for the worst. So if the Patriots are able to upset the Eagles, then I'll be very, very happy Sunday. So
I'll say
But
this, Chris. I think
possible.
the Eagles are due for a little bit of a regression. They aren't. I don't think they are as good as they were last year. And their schedule also reflects that. Their schedule is much tougher than it was last year. So I do think that the Eagles are going to pull out a close one against the Patriots, but I don't think it's going to be the blowout that a lot of people think it's going to be.
now listen, Keith, for my sake, I hope you are right. I hope you are right. So, and Sean, you had something to say?
Oh no, I was just to talk on both of your games. I mean, the Patriots might not be as good as the Eagles, but it's a week-to-week league, so
Yeah.
you never know what could happen. That could be coming out because you look at some teams like us 2 years ago after that Chiefs playoff game. We went out. We were playing the Steelers week 1, and then we looked like crap and we lost off a terrible block punt play. And you're just like, wow, that wasn't what we expected. We thought we were going to steamroll this team. That could easily happen to the Eagles. It could happen to us. It could happen to the Jets. It could happen to the Chargers. Like it all depends on what they come out and show. So especially week 1, because you can really take advantage of something like that in week 1 where Super Bowl hangover. They could come out flat. Patriots take advantage. They got a great defense. I mean, I would still pick the Eagles.
Yeah.
But I mean, would I be shocked if something like that happens week 1 to a team that's good? No, not really. And then about the Dolphins game, one thing that people often forget too is their entire secondary was injured. The Chargers, and they're on the third and fourth string secondary, and people thought they copied what San Francisco did, but their players were like, and their coach was like, oh, you know what, we really didn't. They played a zone, and we did press man, bump and run coverage, and Tua even said it this year. That's why I think it's the same Tua. He just throws it into a spot and hopes the guy gets there. He did it. He said it in training camp because one of the Texans defenders said, "Oh, I've been watching Tua's tape and he tries to look off the safety and then he just throws it to where he wanted to go originally anyway." And then Tua came out and was like, "Yeah, I'm surprised he caught that. Like that's actually what I do." And that's what happened in the Chargers game. He kept trying to throw it in the same spot. They caught on to him. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle got bumped off the line. They couldn't get open as quick. And then McDaniel did try to adjust a little bit, throwing some out routes or whatever, but Tua just wouldn't throw them. He kept trying to do the same thing and the same thing. So what Chris was saying, it takes his growth, and it's a huge game for the Dolphins because if you look at last year and you look at they lost Ramsey, so they kind of have the same team they did last year, but now the Chargers are 100% healthy. This is a huge week 1 for them because they can really set the tone of the year. They could win this game, beat the Chargers, and then they got we didn't beat them last year. They embarrassed us. Now we got that off our back. Now we can go. I don't know who you play week 2, but now we can start setting the tone for the rest of the year. So it's a huge game, and a lot
Patriots of it's Patriots week 2 actually.
Oh, that's right.
That's a rough way to start the season off with 0-2. That's tough right there.
We'll be 1-1 after 2 weeks, Chris. Don't worry about it.
We shall see, my friend. Go ahead, Keith. Go ahead, Sean. Continue.
No, I was just going to say it really depends on Tua because being a spot thrower only gets you so far because people even since college, people at LSU and all those other big schools were like, yeah, we already knew where Tua was going to throw the ball. And, that's kind of how he is in the NFL too. And Mike McDaniel and I always forget his name, but I always who was the guy before?
Brian Flores.
Brian Flores, yeah. Flores. They had to try to
Yes.
work around what Tua couldn't do. Flores took a different approach. McDaniel's taking also a different approach, but now you kind of saw it with Fangio coming in and playing those kind of defenses that Tua struggled with. Tua still was doing the same things. He wasn't really improving, and they can't do the stuff that Mike McDaniel did last year against that kind of defense and practice and everything. So
Mhm.
it's going to take a lot of him going out of his comfort zone and to think, well, that's not going to win us games this year because a lot of people are going to see those San Francisco tape. I mean, the Bills are guilty of playing to the Miami Dolphins' strength. They love to play against a soft zone coverage like we play, so they will always eat. Tua will destroy a team that plays his own like the Buffalo Bills did last year and the year before that and the year before that. But teams
Mhm.
like the Chargers and the 49ers specifically schemed against guys like Waddle, Hill, and Tua. We just stick to our stubborn zone. We're like, yeah, we're going to stick to what we normally do and then try to win anyway. So that's why like those Bills games were always so close, is because we were letting them play to their strength instead of trying to scheme them out.
Well,
And
Sean, it's also worth pointing out that Brandon Staley, who's the head coach of the Chargers, is a Vic Fangio disciple.
yeah,
So, Tua has been practicing against this Vic Fangio defense all of training camp, all of mini camp. So hopefully he's gotten some tricks, tricks together on how to beat it. It's there's been a lot of reports where the Dolphins defense came out on top in training camp, but there's also been a lot of reports where Tua's made some really nice throws, really nice plays against that defense.
right.
So, so this is going to be a huge test for Tua. See how much he's grown in this offseason.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying I'd be, I'm not going to be shocked if you win, but it's such a big opportunity for your team coming off of last year where you had that bad stretch of games, the San Fran, the Chargers, Buffalo, and you could right the wrong right off the bat, which is awesome. Like, I'm sure you guys wanted to play them. You got that Herbert Tua debate always going. They beat you in last time when you guys could have won that game, because especially last year you should have won the game because the Chargers were basically playing out of the hospital. They were all hurt, even Herbert. So,
but like Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, they carved us up in that game. They carved up the Dolphins secondary, and
but it's a different year, so you guys can.
Yeah,
you guys gotta have to want it.
Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. I know
I'm sure we won it.
yeah. I know for sure the Dolphins do want it. It's gonna be if they get that win, that's gonna be a great start to the season. A big confidence boost, especially against one of the better teams in the AFC, in the Chargers. So we'll definitely see how that game goes. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be a big test for Tua to see how he's grown, if he keeps repeating the same mistakes, or if he's actually, if he starts reading the defense, looking at the receivers, watching the matchups, seeing if they've been bumped off the line, going through his progressions. We got to see Tua's growth is really going to depend on his success. They have all the weapons. Now it's just all on his shoulders. So we're going to see. Anthony, I'm going to go ahead and get your opinion next on the Bills game. On the Patriots game and the Dolphins game. Just wanted to go to this comment from Linda West. She said, I hope Christian Gonzalez helps you out. And truth be told, I hope he does too, because Christian Gonzalez is in for a crash course, especially when the Eagles receivers and A.J. Brown and what is
Smith.
the other? Devontae Smith. And I think they still have Quez Watkins, and so he's going to be matched up against some of the better receivers in the NFL and those guys. So we'll see. And Jalen Hurts is also nothing to play with. If he's going to be able to recognize those scrambles outside the pocket when Hurts takes off and starts running, is he going to be able to come down and make the stops, or is he going to get so caught up in his assignment? So Christian Gonzalez has a lot of learning to do, and he's undoubtedly, especially in the NFL, these veteran quarterbacks, they like to go pick on the new guys. So they're definitely going to put him to the test and see if he's ready. So it's going to be a very, very interesting game. All right. Now let's go ahead. I'm gonna start with Anthony. Anthony, you've been a little quiet today, so let's see how you feeling about your matchup with the Bills this Monday. What do you think is going to be happening? How you think it's going to go?
I'm feeling very good about it, but I do want to get back really quickly just so I can stick up for Tua, because I don't feel like he's had a good defense so far. Pre-concussion Tua, post-concussion Tua were two completely different quarterbacks. Pre-concussion Tua was an absolute nightmare. He was on pace for plus 5,000 yards passing, maybe like 45 or 50 touchdowns. He was an absolute absolute nightmare for any defense. This idea that the man can't look off his one and go to his two is, I don't know where he's coming from. Even if he said that in an interview, he's a competitor. I don't care what he says. He's not telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
He's got no incentive to be honest. The man is one of the most cerebral quarterbacks in the NFL. When he was healthy last year, he was a problem. So I don't know if they're going to beat the Chargers. If they're going to, the game's going to have to be an absolute shootout. I don't think the Dolphins defense, I know they got Fangio, but I don't think the Dolphins defense is populated with a whole lot of killers. So they're going to have to win like they did last year with a whole bunch of shootouts. But I think they're capable because the team is healthy going into the season. How do I feel about the Bills and the Jets? If I'm going to be completely honest, it's going to be a double-digit win for us. Monday night, 9/11, in MetLife, there will be juice. That crowd is going to be absolutely wild. With Aaron Rodgers in his first game, this defense where it is, I was looking back on it just because I want to have some idea, like, how did they play last year? Because I didn't honestly remember how that game played out. Last year in MetLife, Josh Allen, 18 of 34, 205 yards, 0 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 5 sacks, and 2 fumbles.
And 2 rushing touchdowns as well.
He did have 2 rushing touchdowns. Fantastic. You guys scored 20 points. 17 points. So 2 fumbles, 5 sacks, 2 interceptions, yes, 2 rushing touchdowns. That's your best chance to score points is Josh Allen running.
All right. So
I even went to the second game just to make sure that it wasn't just, Josh Allen had an off night. Second game that the Jets played against Josh Allen last year, it was like 154 passing yards. Again, 47 yards on the ground, 1 passing touchdown. Congratulations.
Who won that game?
Yeah, you won it with 20 points. You're not going to win a game against the Jets at home at MetLife on 9/11 with 20 points. You're not even going to get. I honestly don't think you're getting the 20 points this time.
So Anthony, you're calling for history to repeat itself. You think that Jets have the formula? It looks like Bills had a couple rough games against them last year. So you think that the Jets have the formula to beat the Bills, and now with the new offense and the much better quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, no doubt, you think that they have their number this year?
Yeah, I don't see. Yeah, they're not coming out of this one with a win. No. They're starting.
Okay, so
fine.
So let's hear. You said you got a double-digit win for the Jets. What's your final score prediction? Let's hear that.
I think it's going to be 24-13.
24-13. Okay, we got 11-point win for the Jets. Looking good. So we're definitely looking forward to that Monday night matchup, seeing if that comes to fruition. And Sean, let's go ahead and hear your opinion on this game. How do you feel about the Bills and the Jets matchup?
Well, it's going to be a good game for sure. And it's kind of funny. All the Jet fans are hyped up. They think they're going to win a Super Bowl. And it kind of reminds me of the Dolphins last year in Week 3. They beat us. We were banged up. They beat us by 2 points, I think. And then they thought the Super Bowl was over. Everybody crowned the Dolphins the AFC East champs. The Bills fell off. The Bills are terrible. Josh Allen didn't have, 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns like everybody expects him to get. Did have 400 total yards, but it just didn't work out. And then you think about it. Yeah, the Jets beat us once last year. Yeah, we didn't do too well offensively against them the year before that. But does that mean it's going to happen the same way the following year? Because I also think about the Dolphins too, because the Dolphins are 2-9 against Josh Allen, right? So we beat them, swept them every year for like 3 years. Then they beat us once last year. And what did that mean? Really nothing, because then we beat them once again, and then again in the playoffs. So, yeah, you had a couple good games against the Bills last year. Another year of the same team for the Buffalo Bills. We got better on offense, got better on defense. You guys are basically – you had Aaron Rodgers. Wonderful. Aaron Rodgers can't beat the Bills. He didn't beat the Bills last year when he had the opportunity to do so with a better team, and now he's not going to do it again this year. You guys are better, but let's not pretend like – we haven't ran a division for 3 years. Doesn't matter if Josh had 0 touchdowns and 25 picks against the Jets. We won 1 game, and that was enough to win a division. And it didn't really matter, how well you played because you still lost. And
I'm hearing a lot of magical thinking. Like, it doesn't matter if Josh is bad. It doesn't matter if we're the Bills.
Have you guys played
helmet scouting.
All right, guys,
let's hold Aaron Rodgers.
Let's hold that thought real quick so we can read our super comment from the Bills fan CA. And he says that there will be more Bills fan in MetLife and the Bills pulling out pull out the upset. Bills show the world the Jet hype is just that hype. Bills 31, Jets 37. Bills fan CA, appreciate the donation, appreciate the super comment as well. So okay.
It's funny though, like I said, you're saying I'm being like magical and saying previous things. That's all you're doing. You have no basis and no proof that you guys are going to do any good this year.
I just gave you the last two matchups for Josh Allen. I just gave you the last two matchups of the Bills against the Jets. Josh Allen did absolutely nothing. You couldn't do. Okay. You literally barely won the one game you did win, and that was with Zach Wilson at quarterback.
Okay.
Like you said, only Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, only the 4-time MVP Aaron Rodgers is our quarterback.
You shouldn't have won the last MVP because Brady had better stats all around than him. So we'll say that though.
But, hey, Linda thinks that the Bills are so much better this year, and no one sees it coming. She's saying she's calling the Bills. So, I mean, Anthony, of course, being a Jets fan, I don't know too many myself, but you're all on your own, so you got to defend your team right there.
But now after
it's
14 years of
missing
the playoffs.
Week, and he's gonna be like, "Oh well, we'll still win the division."
Yeah, well, like I said, it happened that way last year. We lost the first 2 division games, and then we won a division by 4 games. So I mean, I'm not really concerned if we did lose Monday.
It's not last year.
I don't think we will. You say it's not last year, but why are you bringing up last year's stats then?
Because Josh Allen against his,
you can't bring up this year because you haven't done nothing.
Defense has not changed. The only thing that's
lost
happened
10 games last year.
Will McDonald,
the defense didn't win any games for you last year. You guys lost 10 games. Where's that great Hall of Fame defense? It was terrible.
We were top 5 in the NFL last year. We literally were 30.
Where was it when it counted?
We were 32nd in passing offense last year.
Where was it when it mattered most?
What are you?
That game we only scored 20 points. Where was it then?
What did you average in points last year? Like 27 points a game? You played against us and you averaged 17?
Yeah, still won a game.
Are you serious? Like, this is not the same. This is not even close.
You're saying
this game is a
double-digit last year
beating.
So, guys, if I may interject, because you're both very pretty. I'll grant you both that. But if I may interject, I do think it's going to be a defensive struggle, and I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is going to hit the ground running the way you necessarily think he will, Anthony.
Exactly.
I just don't. It takes a while to acclimate. It takes more than a training camp and a mini camp to acclimate to your team, to your teammates. He has Alan Lazard. He has Randall Cobb, who, he'll go out there with a walker and run a couple routes. But I do think that this is going to be a much more defensive-minded game. I see it coming to. I don't see a double-digit victory for the Jets. That's
24-13.
I don't think there'll be anybody but double digits the whole season. If I'm being fair,
I don't see a double-digit victory for the Jets.
Points is not an offensive slugfest. It's literally a defensive war in the NFL these days.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not a crazy, outlandish idea. The Dolphins only scored 13 points on us last year at MetLife.
All right, that's now you're cherry picking a little bit now. Andy.
Yeah, exactly. That's all the defense can do.
They scored 20 points on us at the game when they were at home.
Keith, I like where you're going with that. You started talking about the Jets offense, and we tried to talk about it last week because I think some people think it's better than it actually is. You got Breece Hall coming off an ACL injury. You don't know what he's going to be. You have a terrible offensive line, which I broke down last time.
Terrible offensive line. Okay, first off, Glass House is here. You literally have the worst right tackle in football.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that.
Let's not talk about offensive lines. Let's discuss who we have as weapons. Garrett Wilson.
That's it.
Absolutely phenomenal wide receiver.
And that's it.
Alan Lazard, perfect number 2. Absolute reasonable number 2. What did he go
I think the pickup. I think the pickup was out.
Compare that to Gabe Davis. What did Gabe Davis do for you last year?
Alan Lazard is a 3 at best.
I think by the Jets bringing over some wide receivers that Aaron Rodgers is comfortable with, that was a really good pickup. Bringing over Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard was a really smart move instead of him just coming with completely new receivers that he had to get acclimated to, build chemistry with. I think that was because he did spend a few years with Alan Lazard, so I think if he can't build that chemistry between him and Garrett Wilson, which I think is going to be pretty difficult. I mean, I think they already have pretty good chemistry, so I don't see that happening. I think it's going to be a good move. And then if, let's say, they aren't unable to ball, Breece Breece Hall, he looks like he's the number one on top of the depth chart right now. So I think he's recovering pretty well from his ACL injury, and undoubtedly having Dalvin Cook, who is on the decline but still got a lot of juice in the tank, is going to be a good fallback option for Aaron Rodgers at the end of the day. So I'm not saying that the Jets are going to be this amazing team that's going to beat the Bills, but I don't think the Jets are the same team that they were last year. And to the same note, I don't think the Bills are the same team that they were last year. So I think there's a lot of things that both teams have to show and prove, and we're all looking forward to see this year. And I think we all can agree on that, correct?
Yeah, but if Lazard and Randall Cobb are these great receivers that Rodgers had last year, why was he so putrid last year on a good team?
He broke his thumb on like the second week of the season.
Oh,
he spent the year with a broken thumb.
Didn't Josh Allen have a torn UCL and played the whole year anyway, and there was no excuses there? He still finished number 2 in touchdowns.
At the end of the season. And by the way, Josh Allen wasn't like Josh Allen the year before last year. The man's playing hero ball. He gets speared every game because you can't protect him.
Right, but that's different.
Not my
this
fault.
I'm not saying anything was your fault. I'm just saying you bring up last year, then I bring up last year, and then I can't bring it up, but you're allowed to.
You're only bringing up last year's offense. Every time you bring it up, you talk about last year's offense. Like Zach Wilson to Aaron Rodgers is no big thing. Like we don't even need him to be MVP Aaron Rodgers. We need him to be Kirk Cousins, and then we beat you.
He wasn't even Kirk Cousins last year, if I'm being fair. But
with the broken
we're talking about your offense this year. Yeah. That's what I've been talking about was the offense this year. Mm-hmm. You got a running back coming off an ACL.
And a running back who's Dalvin Cook, who only went for 1,400 yards last year, just in case Breece Hall does miss a couple games.
All right. You're going to finish? Or can I go? Or
go ahead.
So, again, Dalvin Cook, there's a reason that only the Jets wanted him. He's one of the worst pass blocking running backs in the NFL. He's a home run hitter, and if he doesn't get a home run, -2 yards, 0 yards, 1 yard, -5 yards. That's not going to do anything for you with the kind of team that you have. Again, your offensive line isn't as good as you may think it is. Connor McGovern is horrible, whether you think he's great or not. Dwayne Brown is old and horrible. Laken Tomlinson is horrible. AVT is a Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber right guard. And then you're banking on, as bad as our right tackle is, your right tackle hasn't played an NFL snap in 2.5 years. So
just because you're saying things doesn't make them true. Connor McGovern has been on our team for 3 years now. 3 years in a row, he's been fit between 10th. Will you stop it? Between 10th and 15th on PFF's top 10 or top centers. Okay. He's consistently between 10 and 15. You keep calling him terrible, but he's between 10 and 15 every single year. He's mechanical. He's fine. Laken Tomlinson was a Pro Bowler in 2021. Dwayne Brown was a Pro Bowler in 2021.
What was he last year?
Again, we're talking about last year. No, last year was not good. I'll freely admit last year was not good. But he is not that far removed from being a very good player.
Listen, Go Bills podcast said that we need to do a 1 hour long Jets Bill matchup show, and I agree 100% because I'd love to hear you guys go back and forth.
I'm just saying this is what's presented to us. All we can talk about is what we know now, and until someone can prove to me how, besides Garrett Wilson and a hurt coming off of ACL, Breece Hall, that you guys have any great offensive firepower. Because from what I remember,
this is not going to be an offensive game. We only need to put up 2 touchdowns and a couple of field goals, and that's all the defense is going to give you.
Could you even do that, though?
We did.
Could you?
Yes. You don't think Aaron Rodgers?
No.
And, I don't know, the ghost of Randall Cobb and
oh, my God.
Devon Walker comes out of retirement?
And then another reason why last year, if I can get this point across, and we can keep talking, and it doesn't matter to me. But if I can get this point across, the Bills' offensive line last year was in fact horrible, and I'm going to bring up last year. And then this year, there's been a lot of changes to the offensive line. We got Connor McGovern, the good Connor McGovern from Dallas, who played left guard, and that's going to bolster up Deion Dawkins' play at left tackle because he's not worried about the bottom 3 ranked left guard next to him. So that's 2 positions solidified. Then you got an actual top 10 center in Mitch Morse, not Connor McGovern. Then you got the best guard in the draft in Osiris Torrance. And then you got a horrible
from Florida. Okay.
Then you got a horrible misfit at right tackle who shouldn't even be on the team. That I will give to you. But last year, Josh Allen had to run for his life every single play because you guys have a very good defensive front. The other thing was because we had no other wide receiver options, because Gabe Davis, apparently to him, he said he had a bad ankle injury. I don't care about excuses, but he said, it really affected me. So I'll give that to him. He said he was affected by it. So what they did was because Diggs burned Sauce the first play of the game, they put Sauce on Gabe Davis. Then they double one-on-one, which was a lockup. Then they double teamed Stephon Diggs. And then we had Isaiah McKenzie couldn't get open. Khalil Shakir couldn't get open. And then that was the main problem. Nobody could get open. Nobody could separate. And then the defensive line was in his face within a half a second. That's not going to be the same this year, because you look at who we got. We got, what's his name from the Dolphins? Keep forgetting his name. Keith, help me out.
Wait.
Trent Sherfield. You got Trent Sherfield, who's very fast, better than Isaiah McKenzie. Gabe Davis is healthy. Then you got Dalton Kincaid. You have horrible coverage linebackers. That middle of the field is going to be wide open. Then there's not going to be a chance to double team Stephon Diggs. The offensive line is going to hold up better. We're going to run a lot of double tight end sets to help crack block the defensive ends. So it's going to go a lot different than you think. Also, the defense is going to be more aggressive this year than it was last year. And I know people mention we got worse on defense because we lost Tremaine Edmonds, but they forgot who we also gained on defense. You got Taylor Rapp. You got Poona Ford. You got that guy from the Rams, Leonard Floyd. We're not as bad as everybody thinks. And we got 3 All-Pros in the secondary back who we didn't have last year. Micah Hyde's back. Jordan Poyer's back. Trey White's second year off his ACL removed, and he's going to be even better than he was last year. So everybody talks about the Bills fell off. The Bills aren't that good on defense, even though they've actually been a top 5 defense over the last 5 years. Unlike a certain team that we're talking about here, who's only been it once in the last few years. And defense is great, but to just completely write off the Bills when they've been a Super Bowl contender for the last 3 or 4 years, just to write them off because you got Aaron Rodgers, you haven't even played one snap yet, to say, oh, it's going to be a double-digit win. That's where I got to go.
Quickly?
Let's get 1 second, Anthony. Let's go ahead and bring up these comments real quick. Linda says that the whole team has been upgraded to go with Sean's point. So she mentioned some of the players that they've gotten in the offseason. So, very, very good points. We're definitely going to look forward to see how that team comes together. And we also have a new viewer. Let's everyone say hello to Blake Amsler. I hope I said that right. Blake, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you joining the channel. So welcome. And a couple more. Cobb needs to get a walker to the locker room. So we got some funny ones from Go Bills podcast. Always a pleasure to have you, Go Bills. So Anthony, go ahead and let's hear your point regarding
First off,
the Jets.
The defense, the comment on Sauce being put on Gabe Davis is absolutely hilarious. First off, the Jets don't play matchups. They have a left cornerback, a right cornerback, that's it. There's not like Sauce is following anybody around. This isn't Rex Ryan in 2011. This is Sauce plays left cornerback, DJ Reed plays right cornerback. However it is you want to chop it up, that's fine. They don't double receivers. They play quarter half.
They did.
Just
it was
like
on
the Bills do, just like now the Miami Dolphins do, which is to say one guy gets manned, the other guy gets bracketed, one side or the other.
A bracket is a double team.
A bracket is not a double team. A double team is.
And again, you can watch the film.
Yeah.
Sauce Gardner was on Gabe Davis, and he wasn't on the left side the whole time. We'll say
the Jets. Sauce plays one side. Yeah.
You have to watch the film.
I have watched the film.
So Anthony, quick question. So regarding the additions that the Bills have had in the offseason, right? Yeah. Because like they did mention,
Trent Sherfield isn't an addition. Trent Sherfield is literally a cast off from the Dolphins. The AFC East, and you probably have watched it long enough to understand, it's the most inbred conference in football.
It is.
We steal players.
For the record, Anthony, I agree with you. Trent Sherfield made some nice plays for the Dolphins last year, but he's
the bad quarterback.
Oh God!
Again, more of this.
With a spot throwing quarterback.
Keith, go ahead. Keith, go ahead.
No, Trent Sherfield. He's not going to move the needle for the Bills.
No, Dalton Kincaid's their second tight end. Congratulations, you used the first round pick on a second tight end. Tight ends almost never do anything in their first contracts. Usually it takes them 3 years before they can acclimate. So if that's an addition, congratulations. Taylor Rapp, third safety. He's a box safety.
Super Bowl champion, starting safety for the champion Los Angeles Rams.
2 years. He's a box safety, bro. I'm sorry. That's not a big help. Like they're moving around. They're shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic. This team is worse than it was last year, and it's worse last year than it was the year before.
13 wins is worse than 11 wins? That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't consider that you'll have wins here and there based on strength of schedule here and there. That's a couple of wins here and there is not going to make the difference. 2 years ago, you were in the AFC Championship game. Last year, you didn't make it that far. This year, it's going to get even worse.
It's funny because we were worse when we went to the AFC Championship than we were the year after that and the year after that. So
I'm not sure that's the case.
That is the case. That's the thing. Like when people comment on like I watch every Dolphins, Jets, Falcons. I watch every team, and they always talk without knowing what actually goes on in Buffalo. So you may think Taylor Rapp is a bad signing.
He's not a bad signing. He's just an average player, and you're boosting him like he's like some kind of special magical upgrade. He's a box safety.
Okay, look at your safety.
Taylor Rapp's been in the league for about 3 years now.
You would love to have Taylor Rapp as your first safety off the bench. You guys have a horrible safety room as it is, have no depth at safety, and then you're saying, "Oh, Taylor Rapp's a bad signing." And that's why it's funny because you got to know
one
what goes
healthy
on in
safety
Buffalo.
last year.
You got to know how we run defense to know that.
Who are our safeties? Tell me who are our safeties. Our safeties are terrible. Who are they?
Jordan Whitehead.
And
Amos.
No, Amos is on the bench.
Amos is a safety.
Amos is on the bench.
You said who's your safety, so I named two safeties for you.
Who's the other one? Who's the other starter?
I don't know. Oh, the undrafted free agent. The undrafted free agent. You got an undrafted free agent starting safety. So
yes.
That's really impressive. If an undrafted free agent starting on such a vaunted defense, then I think you guys should be pretty worried about that.
Yeah, but, I'm not.
All right.
Well, our safeties
regardless, to say stuff like Taylor Rapp's a horrible signing.
I didn't say he was a horrible signing. Stop making stuff up. I said he's a bang average box safety, and you're calling him an upgrade.
I mean, I like Taylor Rapp personally.
Von Miller's not even going to be
we got to be realistic here when we're talking about other players. Like that guy's a Super Bowl champ. He started on the Rams when they won a Super Bowl.
He was on a team that won the Super Bowl. He wasn't the reason for it.
I like Taylor Rapp. I think he's a young player who has a lot of. He's been in the league for 2 or 3 years now, so I think he's growing.
I think.
Yeah, I think he's a good pickup for the Bills, especially when they had issues on defense last season. So I think he's going to be a good pickup. I think he's going to be in the offense. I think he's going to really help the defense all come together. Both teams, like I said, at the end of the day, have picked up enough players to really make a difference this year, and we haven't seen a official snap of NFL football yet. So we're going to continue to discuss this and see how things go on Monday or on next Tuesday after the game is concluded. So I'm very interested to see that. But I know you guys can talk about this all night long. I love hearing you guys go back and forth. I love the rivalry. So it's going to be a very interesting season to say the least. Let's go ahead and move to our next topic for tonight. So with our teams and our prospective matchups, I'm personally a big fan of fantasy football, right? I know we all love fantasy football. I've been in a couple of drafts for the past few days, and I have another draft tonight after the show is over. So now, with that being said, who are some players that we need to watch from your prospective team to have a big game this football weekend? Who are some people? I'm going to go ahead and start with you, Anthony. Who are some players from the Jets that you predict having a big game this weekend that you would want to start in your lineup if you had them?
Yeah, I mean, the only one that I can honestly Garrett Wilson, is probably the number one option for a player that you're going to want to play. I don't know how good Aaron Rodgers is going to be. I know he'll be fine, but the Bills aren't going to surrender a crap ton of points anyway. So and Aaron Rodgers isn't going to run, so I couldn't endorse him or starting him if he's your number 2 quarterback. Garrett Wilson, if you drafted him, you're starting him regardless. Just like if you drafted Josh Allen, you're starting him regardless. Whether or not he's going to have a great matchup, he's your number 1 quarterback, you're starting him. So for me, I think the only one I could possibly endorse, and the worst thing is he had bad stats in both Bills matchups, would be Tyler Conklin, who is our starting tight end, our very good, very solid, average starting tight end. If you're in a DFS league, then that might be the only value that you're going to have. Breece Hall is the most likely of our running backs to break one loose, either catching something in the flat on a wheel route or just finding an opening on an outside zone play and just taking it to the house. But it's a tough matchup, so I'm not sure who I would endorse besides obviously Garrett Wilson. maybe Tyler Conklin.
Okay, and Brees Hall is slated to start this Monday.
He is going to be starting. He's going to be splitting carries with Dalvin Cook. Saleh said that they will not. They're not going to hold Brees back, but like in these West Coast systems, like 12 carries is about what you can hope for most of these backs. Same thing with like Raheem Mostert for the Bills or for the Dolphins. Like these guys, they don't get a ton of carries. They rotate a lot. So I'm expecting maybe 12 carries for Brees, 10 carries for Dalvin, maybe 5, 6 for Michael Carter, and then everything else is just going to be catches. So if he can break loose on a wheel route, if he's matched up on Matt Milano or something, maybe he takes one to the house. But that's about it. It's a tough matchup. Bills are a good team.
Okay, that's good. Very good points. And yeah, I think there's definitely some added value to Brees Hall since he is probably one of the better pass catchers out of the backfield for that team. So Tyler Conklin, I know right now, especially in the NFL and when it comes to fantasy football, DFS and PPR leagues, it's very hard to find a very, very good tight end outside of Travis Kelce and maybe like what's the boy's name from San Francisco?
Kittle.
George Kittle. So outside those two players, it's very hard to find a good tight end. I know I'm struggling right now in that aspect, so I had to dig deep. So I might have to go take a look at him in my league. Let's go ahead to Keith. Keith, who are some players from the Dolphins that you would endorse to start in your fantasy football league this week?
To Anthony's point, if you have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, you're starting them regardless, right? So, start those guys. I don't endorse starting Tua. In last year's game, it was a bad performance from him, and I do expect him to be better this year because let's be honest, he can't get much worse. But I don't think he's gonna put up the points that you want out of your starting quarterback. So I wouldn't endorse starting Tua. The only person I could possibly endorse is Raheem Mostert because I do think the Dolphins are going to commit to running the ball a little bit more in this game than they have in years past. Other than that, though, this is a game where I would stay away from Dolphins by and large if you can. And I would, if you're going, I would start Mike Williams for the Chargers, who absolutely crushed the Dolphins last year. And I would start Keenan Allen, who also crushed the Dolphins last year. So yeah, that's who, fantasy wise, that's who I would go with in those games and not go with in those games.
Okay. I feel like Tyreek Hill is always a safe start. One of the best wide receivers in the NFL, so I feel like he's always going to be a safe start. Jalen Waddle, I know he had a lot of good games, like Tua's pass attack. The Dolphins ran a very heavy pass attack offense last season, so it was really a safe bet with either Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill. But I feel like Tyreek Hill is a must start every week in my opinion.
Those are two guys in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle where if you're drafting them, you're drafting them in the first 3 rounds, and you don't bench those guys. You just don't do it. So
question is Waddle going to play? Because I keep seeing the little Q right next to his name.
I think he's going to play. He was out running routes with Tua at practice last week, so I think he's trending towards playing. I think he was held out of training camp after a core injury, and I think it was just more so why put him out there to get him further hurt when we need it for the regular season.
For sure.
I think they kind of shut him down. I think those questionable tags are just something that they like to give. Put out there so they could give the fantasy managers a hard time in the heart attacks, especially when it comes to Sunday morning and they don't drop those questionable tags and you don't know whether you start this guy or not, and he don't play until 4:30, and you got another guy who's less likely to go off on your 1:00 game. That's always a rough one in fantasy football. So,
absolutely.
Okay, Keith. I appreciate those topics. I think Raheem Mostert, he's definitely one of my favorite, one of my more favorite running backs in the league. He's a speedster. He always had the ability to break out big runs, especially if you watched him last year before his injury. He'd break out the big 30-yard, 40-yard runs out of nowhere. So he has big play potential. So I love Raheem Mostert in the matchup.
It's also worth pointing out too, as far as the Dolphins are concerned, that Jeff Wilson's on the IR, so he's not going to play the first 4 weeks of the season, and Devon A-Chain, who would presumably be their backup, is just coming back off of a shoulder injury. So
is Brooks up? Like, are you guys keeping him on the active roster?
Yeah, he's on the active roster.
That might be a fantasy guy. Like, he's going to get goal line touches.
I could definitely see that happening. Absolutely. And I'm excited to see what Bruce can bring to the table for the Dolphins, but not this week. I don't think we're going to see much of him this week.
Okay, another week for sure. All right, and Sean, my friend from the Bills Mafia, who do we have starting this week from the Bills Jets matchup?
Well, apparently, for going off what happened last year, I'm going to bench every single Bill out there, including Josh Allen. So that's pretty quick and easy for me. But I guess if you have to play someone, probably Stephon Diggs, probably Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, people that will be in the middle of the field, because the middle of the field is going to be wide open.
You'd start 2 tight ends against the Jets.
Either one, because you might not have both. It wouldn't be logical to have.
You
both
would recommend
tight
both
ends
of them
on your
as starting
roster.
potential.
What's that?
You would recommend both of them as starting potential this year?
Now hold on,
Yeah,
Anthony.
one of
Hold
them-
on. Let me get his picks in.
No, I'm asking because it's like Dalton Kincaid is available and I drafted him, but I dropped him so I could get the Colts running back, but I might have an open spot, so that's what I'm asking.
Yeah. Well, like
okay.
I said earlier, they're going to run a lot of 12 personnel, so it'll be a lot of Knox, a lot of Kincaid. They're both red zone weapons and they're both middle of the field weapons. Kincaid's like a first down marker, so if you have either one. So like if you punted tight end till the end and Kincaid's your only tight end that's good starter, you would be able to put him there. You wouldn't draft 2 Bills tight ends because it just wouldn't be practical. But then James Cook, because I'm sure he's going to get some good decent runs, and then he'll be a receiving threat in the backfield. Especially if we can't get anything going anywhere else, he'll be a good option to go to. And then like I said, improved offensive line. We'll see how the run game is.
Okay, so inevitably, do you think, as for your starting running back, rather, who do you think is going to win that job? Do you think it's going to be James Cook or Damian Harris, or who do you think is taking over that position for
Yeah,
the Bills?
it's Cook for sure. I mean, I thought Harris had a shot in the beginning, but he's always getting injured and banged up. So I think it's just better to use him as a short down back and go inside the 10's goal line, and when you're backed up. And
So Harris is going to get the goal line touches?
yeah, him or Murray. I mean, they're both built for it, and
Yeah.
I mean, heck, they might let Cook do it, but I'm assuming they're going to try to work all 3 of them in, just because. I mean, they try to really make sure they kept Murray, and I like Harris anyway, so I thought he'd be the number 2 back regardless, but they really like Murray, and until something happens, like one of them gets injured, I think they'll rock with those 3, and they'll try to work him in any way they can. Not that it might be a lot, because when we had Hines, we only gave him like 1 carry every 2 weeks or whatever. So maybe Murray won't get much touch, but I definitely think, and we don't run often anyway. But James Cook will probably be the primary back for sure. And then, I mean, they also do the hot hand. So if Harris gets a couple touches and he's ripping off some 5-6 yard runs, they're going to stick with him until he can't, and then they'll go to James Cook or whoever. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. Definitely wouldn't start Harris or Murray. So James Cook, if you got him, if he's if James Cook is your starting running back in fantasy, then you drafted pretty shitty. So, but if not that he's not a good player, but the volume that he's gonna bring isn't worth a starting. He's a good backup, for when you guys one of your starters got to buy. But I mean, it's hard to pick running backs for Bills in fantasy for sure. And like I said, even tight ends, it might be tough, but either way, I think they're both. I mean, Dawson Knox has been a touchdown machine, and Kincaid is a rookie. He's got to show me something. I'm like that with all the rookies. You got to show me on the field in a real NFL game first. But there's a lot of hype surrounded by him, and he's got sure hands. That's for one thing. So we'll see if he can get involved in the offense at all. Take some double team or take some attention away from Diggs or Gabe Davis, and get some one-on-one looks.
I think for sure that was the Bills' biggest problem last year. There was too much attention on Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis was too inconsistent with the drops. They didn't have anyone, a reliable third option to go to, and Dawson Knox. And the running game was non-existent. So I hope they are able to address those issues. James Cook, I think he didn't get utilized enough. Neither did Devin Singletary. Was a more undersized back, so he wasn't really able to break off some of those big runs and slip through the tackles like he was supposed to. But those are no longer issues. We'll see if James Cook really gets to work. and they lean more on that running game this year, and allow some of that pressure to come off of Josh Allen. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. So yes, I'd definitely say Stephon Diggs is a safe bet to always start, and I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. But okay. As for the Patriots lineup, do who would I start in the Patriots? For one, I can't really go with any of the wide receivers. I don't trust any wide receivers, especially Mac Jones, just based off the history that he's shown us in the past few years. I can't really see anyone starting like Juju Smith-Schuster. As much as I like him, him being a wide receiver number one, and I think Devontae Parker's still hurt this year. I can't really start him. If you're in a deeper PPR league and you don't have too many players, and your wide a little bit thin at wide receiver, I'd maybe start Jacoby Myers. Not Jacoby Myers. What's his name? Jason. What's it called?
Parker?
Bourne. No, Bourne.
Oh, Kendrick Bourne. Okay.
Yeah, Kendrick Bourne. I definitely start Kendrick Bourne if you're in a deeper PPR league and you don't have too many good wide receivers to lean on, because I feel like he's probably our safest option at wide receiver. And well, Henry, I'd start him at tight end because you definitely, especially as bad as tight ends are in the NFL, outside of George Kittle and Travis Kelce, who is now hurt, I think Hunter Henry should be a safe option for red zone targets if we're able to get there. Ramondre Stevenson is always a safe bet, in my opinion. He's probably one of the more dominant running backs in the league. He's a great pass catcher. He's great for good, ripping off big yards plays. He's a dog. He runs strong. I think he's someone who can do it all. So Ezekiel Elliott, I don't really recommend starting him either. He might be a goal line carry, nose dive in the end zone if they're within 5 yards. So, but outside of that, I think probably just Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry, and Ramondre Stevenson might be Ramondre Stevenson a safe pick, maybe on Kendrick Bourne and Hunter Henry. I think so. Those are gonna be my picks for the Patriots, but still against our matchup against the Eagles, I don't really recommend anybody from the New England Patriots. Honestly,
Is Gesicki healthy?
I think he's battling injury right now, so I don't
Still?
think he's
Okay.
healthy. Yeah, he's still battling injury. So, yeah. So, but at the end of the day, we all have to see how Mac Jones does under our new offense with our new offensive coordinator. I'm hoping he has a great year, but you never know. Just based off history, I'm not really feeling too confident about the Patriots offense right now. Okay. And then I think that's going to go ahead and move us to our final topic, guys. Our final topic for tonight is going to be what the F players that we have on our teams. Any surprising players after we finally got we have our final rosters coming out. We have our training camp set. We have all our players in the training camp set. Who are some players that we looked at from the final rosters and said, why are they still on the team? And I'm going to go ahead and start with you, Sean. Who are some players that you saw from the Bills that we just like, why? Why are they still here?
Well, a couple of those kind of players got cut surprisingly, like Quisenberry. He's a guy that he had a good career, but hasn't produced anymore. And we kept him last year, and we probably shouldn't have. But we got rid of him. He got signed by the Vikings to the active roster, so good for him. Hope he does well. But I guess nobody really. Everyone knows I'm very hard on Spencer Brown, and I said last year if he's starting at right tackle, we did something wrong, and he still is. But I really didn't think he was going to get cut regardless. Unfortunately, he's got to have competition. The problem is we don't give him any competition. We just hand him the job because they like him. But I guess a what the F kind of moment, in my opinion, was how we traded second-round pick Boogie Basham to the Giants for a sixth-round pick in 2 years. So, everybody's like, well, you had to get something for him now. That's not really getting anything at all. In 2 years, what's that? What could that pick even be? You don't even know. You might not even pan out. And my thought process about it was, Von's not going to be back to at least week 5. He's on the pup. Why not keep Boogie, have him produce, see how he does in the field again. Then when the trade deadline comes, people might want him more than they did before the trade deadline. And you might get a better pick. Because honestly, a pick 2 years from now doesn't help us at all. You know what I mean? We might be like Stephon Diggs might be done, or some of these people might not be playing anymore. You don't know how the world works. People can retire early. We don't need players 2 years from now. We need players currently in the next year's draft. So that was kind of a moment where I was just like, that was really bad, really bad GMing in my opinion. Because I mean, people hated on Boogie just like they hated on Cody Ford. They like the Bills fans pick certain players. I know people might think I'm hard, I'm picking Spencer Brown, but I pick on everybody. Nobody's safe. Josh Allen to the bottom. Nobody's safe for me picking on him. But people hated Cody Ford, wanted him out of here. No, he got injured. Nobody wanted to give him another chance. But same thing with Boogie Basham. Everybody just wants him gone. And I think he was more valuable to us now than a 6th-round pick in 2 years. And I guess the Bills didn't value him like that. And that was kind of like a head scratcher for me. And then I wasn't like disappointed. Kingsley Jonathan from Syracuse. I'm a Syracuse guy, obviously. So I loved Kingsley Jonathan. But I mean, he hasn't done anything compared to Boogie hasn't done much, but Kingsley Jonathan hasn't done anything yet in the NFL. So, and he's probably going to be put down in the practice squad once Von comes back anyway. So I was like, why didn't we keep Boogie and then maybe trade him at the trade deadline? But that was kind of for me. No, really, besides that, what the F players.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that, Sean. I'm going to go ahead and direct our attention to the comment by Go Bills podcast. Overall, around the league, what team are you most confident will lose this week in Football Sunday? I'm going to go ahead and start the Cardinals. What about you, Anthony? What team do you see just taking an L
You
this week?
stole my team. I swear. I was going to say the Cardinals. Easily the worst team in football.
Every week they're going to be they can't win. They can't lose them all, but they're going to be my pick every week.
They're trying hard, I swear.
Yeah.
Okay, what about you, Keith? Who are we seeing losing this week? No doubt, without a doubt, and a shred of doubt in your mind.
Well, I mean, I'm in a survivor pool, a suicide pool that my best friend runs, and I took I was in between the Ravens, who are playing the Texans, or the Commanders, who are playing the Cardinals. I was in between them, and I ended up going with the Commanders ultimately. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm saying the Cardinals are going to lose this week.
Okay, I think for me, my pick is going to be the Texans for sure. I think they got a tough matchup with the Ravens. The Texans, they were probably one of the worst teams in the NFL last season, and I don't really see them walking away with a W. So I think that's without a shred of doubt in my mind. I think they're going to take the L this week. And Go Bills podcast, thank you for the question. We got one more for Bills fan CA. Do we think the younger Cook brother is going to one-up his brother so he can brag at the dinner table? Do we think James Cook is going to have a better season than Dalvin Cook? Do we think?
Well, it's his turn because Dalvin, last time they played against each other, he took that big 80-yard touchdown to the house, and then we ended up losing. So he got the best of it last year. So I think it's James' time.
Okay.
I tend to think that James might get the volume this year.
Yeah.
Finally, I don't know that he's gonna have like an incredible year or something, but it might only take like 1,000 or 1,100 all-purpose yards to do better than Dalvin this year.
Okay. What about you, Keith? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I agree with Anthony. I think as far as just James is in less of a timeshare than Dalvin is. So even if Dalvin has a better yards per carry or whatever, James just by sheer volume alone should beat out Dalvin in stats this season.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm feeling the same way. I think Dalvin Cook's on a decline of his season. He's had great seasons in Minnesota, but I think right now is at the point where he starts to slow down. I think James Cook, he's young, he's ready, and then he has a great model in his brother. So if he has any of the potential, if he's half the potential that Dalvin Cook has, I think he's going to have prime for a big season. If not this season, then he's going to have a breakout candidate season next year. So I'm really looking forward to what he can do. I picked him up and I held him on my fantasy team last year just with the hopes that the Bills would start running the ball more and that they realized that Devin Singletary wasn't the guy. So I wasn't able to get him this year. Unfortunately, everybody saw his potential as well and picked him up. So I think James Cook is going to have a better year than his brother Dalvin this year for sure. So we shall see. But I'm gonna go ahead and go with you, Anthony. Who was the what the F player on that you saw for the Jets?
This one's easy. That's why I even came up with the idea. Justin Hardy. 4 years, maybe 3 or 4 years in a row, the Jets have kept Justin Hardy on this roster because the special teams coordinator loves him. He doesn't return kicks. He doesn't return punts. He's literally just a gunner and a kick return stopper. I don't know what you call them. Like he runs down on kick returns. Like
Okay, he's a special
but
teams.
like I just saw he was listed as one of the captains. Like he's
Okay.
locker room guy, contributes on special teams, and that's all.
He's like
Somehow
he's.
he survived the roster.
I was gonna say he's like Matthew Slater to the Patriots.
Or Larry
Well,
Izzo.
Yeah, there's a role for those guys, Anthony.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not saying there isn't. It's just like we've lost last year during cutdowns that we had like the record for like most players ever claimed by any team since they've been keeping track. It was like 7 players were claimed off the Jets rosters last year, and multiple players of those were starters for other teams. So we've given up like players that became starters for other teams just to make sure that we kept Justin Hardy.
I respect it.
Contributes nothing
I
in
respect
coverage,
it.
so.
I understand because I believe last week's show I was like, what do we have? What was Matthew Slater still on our team? He's like 37 years old, but he's our special teams captain and things of that nature. So I guess there is like he said, there's a role for those guys, but eventually it's like how long is that role going to last when you have that spot that you could potentially pick up, a make or break player, a breakout player. So you never know. So okay, I respect it, Hardy. I got it. And Keith, who was your player that you have on the Dolphins that you were surprised is still on the roster or maybe added to the roster?
Truthfully, there's no players that are on the Dolphins roster where I say, "Oh, I can't believe he's still there." I think the Dolphins did pretty.
Good point.
Yeah. We'll see. The Dolphins play the Bills coming up here.
I'm going to that game too.
Are you really?
Yeah, one of my buddies bought 2 tickets, and I was like, well, I'm also going to that the game Bucks Bills in the same month. So
I hope
Pretty
you get your
cool.
heart broken, Sean. I really do.
well, we should definitely beat the Bucks at least. So
Yeah.
no matter what happens against Miami, we should at least beat the Bucks. So
Yeah.
I don't
hopefully
know.
we'll go forward.
The Bills fell off. The Bills fell off.
That's right. We'll be lucky to win 2 games.
But no, as far as the Dolphins roster goes, I don't have any issue with any of the guys that they kept. They traded Noah Igbenogany to the Cowboys for Kelvin Joseph last week. It was kind of a quiet move. And you know what? It was kind of a situation where both guys needed a change of scenery. So I'm not even saying WTF to that because I like that Noah gets a fresh start. I think he always tried his best with the Dolphins. I just think it just didn't work out for whatever reason.
What about Eichenberg?
What's that?
What about Eichenberg?
See, Eichenberg, he was a 2nd-round pick, and at the very least, he's quality depth. At least, well, he's depth. He's a warm body. He's a warm body to put it
He's
left
a person.
guard, right?
He exists. Yeah.
Okay.
But no, like I mean, I didn't expect Eichenberg to get cut this season. Next season, sure, yeah, let him go. But this season, the Dolphins need to hang on to Eichenberg. So even him, I don't have issue with. One thing I do have issue with the Dolphins roster was the Dolphins had 4 picks in the draft this season. They cut 2 of them.
Who'd they cut?
Elijah Higgins and Ryan Hayes were the 6th and 7th round picks, and they cut both of them. Elijah Higgins is since, hey, either way, like you have 4 picks and you're already batting 50%. You're already batting 50%. That's not a good look for the front office. It just isn't. So Elijah Higgins has already gotten on with the Cardinals, and I'm not entirely sure what happened with Ryan Hayes, but either way, 2 of your 4 draft picks didn't make your final roster. That's not a good look, and I don't like that. And the Dolphins need to do better with their scouting in the future.
Yeah.
You already have 4 picks. You have precious little draft capital, and you can't waste it. And they waste 50% of their draft capital already. Not a good look. I wasn't thrilled with that.
Okay. Appreciate that input, Keith. Thank you for that outlook right there. So, yeah, that is really rough, especially when, like you said, they don't have too much draft capital going forward. So, I think if I had to pick what the F pick for the Patriots, I'd definitely say the signing of Matt Corral. That was a very interesting move. He got hurt in the Sugar Bowl a few years ago, and he's played backup. I think he was backup in Carolina, but he hasn't really done much. So for them to put him as the number 2 back behind Mac Jones was a very interesting move. Maybe it's something they saw. I have no idea. I haven't seen him play at all, and even Bill Belichick acknowledged that he wasn't sure if he'd be ready to handle number two duties as the backup quarterback for New England. So my point, so it's to that point, it's like, why would you even pick him up and put him on a roster? That right there was really weird, especially when, you know, I've always spoke so highly of Malik Cunningham. I think he shows great potential, versatile quarterback, and he can play. He's dual threat. He can be a receiver. He's a quarterback. He can run. He can pass well. And a little bit of preseason time he did have, he really impressed me. So I feel like he should be our backup, especially because Bailey Zappi doesn't really impress me at all. So to pick this guy up way out of left field and grab him to the number two quarterback doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So
I'll
that
say
was
this. I'll say this, Chris. Like once upon a time, Matt Corral was one of the top quarterback prospects in all of college football.
yeah.
And you know, he had a fall from grace somewhere along the line. So you know, the ankle injury certainly didn't help. But
Yeah.
I guess maybe Belichick's hoping he can harness something in Matt Corral, that potential that he once had. I don't know.
That's
To
why,
me,
and that's
to
why I
me,
said I don't. Go ahead, Anthony.
oh, to me, it's just roster gymnastics because they claimed him off of waivers. So they're going to have to keep him on the roster. That's fine. But we know that now there's the 54th player rule, whereas on game day you can elevate a third quarterback from your practice squad and keep them as a 54th player. So to me, that's probably going to be Bailey Zappi, and he's going to be the real backup because they can't ship Corral down, I think, for 4 or 5 weeks after claiming him.
Okay.
So I think it's just roster gymnastics. They know that Zappi's going to be there as an emergency quarterback anyway.
Okay, those are very valid points, gentlemen. I appreciate that. And like Keith said, you know, maybe once upon a time, he might have been that guy before the injury. And maybe Bill Belichick is looking for a steal at a really low price. So he's thinking that maybe if they work with this guy long enough, he can go ahead and be that backup. You know, that maybe Bailey Zappi has improved to be. So we'll see. But to me, that was a move that I really didn't understand right there. So, okay, so very, very good, very, very good points on that, gentlemen. I appreciate that. I guess a little segment I wanted to throw in. What are some of the draft strategies that we have? I know we had a few fantasy football drafts this past weekend. I know I was a part of two, and I have one later tonight with Nickel City Mafia, so that's going to be very fun. What are some of the strategies that we have for our drafts, the fantasy football drafts this year? I'm gonna start with Sean. Let's hear what you have.
What kind of league is it? It all depends.
Yeah, the point.
Mm-hmm.
If it's super
PPR.
flex,
Superflex PPR.
What is it?
Let's do a Superflex PPR. What would be your draft strategy for a Superflex PPR?
So for me, one of the super flexes that I drafted, I was 5th. And the way I took it was Hurts, Allen, Jefferson, and Mahomes were off the board. And I was like, well, I could go Lamar Jackson. I could go Joe Burrow. But why not get a top? I went Travis Kelce, but why not go Travis Kelce and then overload on receivers? And then my plan was to get guys like Kenny Pickett, Derek Carr, people like that, like later in the rounds for quarterback. And I went Travis Kelce, Devontae Adams. And let me just pull it up and tell you, because I went the first four out of the first 5 rounds. I went receiver, and then everyone else was picking I had all these running backs in the back reserve because there's a ton that people don't really pay attention to. So I was like, let me overload on receiver, and then I'll be good. And then I went, like I said, overload receiver, then running back, quarterback. Then I went running back, quarterback, and then really just filled up after that. It's not loading, but I know I got Deebo Samuel, Devontae Adams, Devonta Smith, Travis Kelce, and it was Amari Cooper, I think, for receivers. And then I got DeAndre Swift and another starting running back. And then, I picked Dawson Knox in the last round for my second tight end. And wide receivers are very important. You could get – the way I looked at it for the quarterback strategy was if I'm not getting one of the top guys in the first 4, like I said, Burrow and Lamar are great, but I was where my position was. I thought receiver and tight end was more important because Kelce was still there also. So you got to look at where you're at, and then you got to see where you're drafting in the next couple rounds. So if you see all the quarterbacks go in the second round, maybe you want to get one in the third, or you can, stand tough like I did and was like, you know what, I know those guys will be there later on. And then some people pick 3 or 4 quarterbacks. I just picked 2 because I was like, well, if worst comes to worst, then somebody else will be there. You could pick up you could put another receiver, tight end, or running back in the super flex position. So I was like, yeah, why draft somebody like Sam Howell, or not Sam Howell, but some guy
Rob.
that's one of the bottom 32 quarterbacks or like a
Okay.
backup? Why draft
Like a
one of
Jimmy
them when I can
Garoppolo.
just put yeah, why do that when I could put like Debo Samuel in the super flex that week if a quarterback's on a bye? So wide receiver heavy, because wide receiver I think is the most important position if you can't, besides quarterback in a super flex. But it all depends on where you're at. Like I said, I went heavy wide receiver, quarterback late, running back late, and it worked out for
Okay.
me pretty well.
All right, very good. It's very that's funny because it's the opposite of my strategy. So I just before I get back to that, I want to go ahead and bring up this comment from Bills fan CA. So based on our discussion, the AFC East will come out this first week 1-3. So we look at one win from either the Bills or the Jets, and then losses from the Dolphins, Patriots, or one of those Bills and Jets. So
Well, the Bills and Jets
based on that,
could tie though.
I mean, that is very rare, but I guess a tie is possible. So we could just be looking at 0-4, because I don't know, a loss tie would still be considered a loss, really. Um,
Yeah, basically.
yeah, so but correct. Bills fancy based on that. I think we do see AFC East kind of losing this first week. I mean, I'd love to see an upset. Like I said, I'd love to see the Patriots beat the Eagles in some, and some new strategy and new scheme that they've developed in the offseason that no one's seen. But yeah, it's looking like 1-3.
It's
So
it's brutal matchups all around, and one of the things that stuck out to me when I looked at the schedule is the fact that like almost always the first week of the year, like the schedule makers make the AFC champion play the NFC champion, or like some matchups of like the final four from the playoffs against
mhm,
each other. And
mhm,
this year, it's just like the AFC gets two division champion or two Super Bowl teams, and then they get to play each other, like the Super Bowl teams from last year, and then they get to play each other. Just a brutal schedule for everybody in the AFC East again this year. Like we can't catch a break. How many times do we have to play? Can't we just get like 1 year where we get to play the NFC South
Yeah.
or the
yeah, right.
AFC South or
Yeah,
something?
for sure. Right, get the easier matchups, get them easy wins under your belt. So, but it's trial by fire. Those tough matchups are what really make teams better in the long run. So, I think the AFC East got a lot of, especially the Patriots. I think the Patriots has the tough. On paper, they have the toughest schedule in the
Yeah.
NFL. So we have a long, tough road ahead of us. So, if this doesn't make us better, then I don't know what will. So. So we shall see how the season goes. But yeah, for that first week, it's gonna be looking rough for all of us. I think we can all agree on that one. Uh, yeah, Bills and Jets are definitely gonna be my favorite matchup to watch this week, though.
Monday
But
night.
yeah, Monday night, right? Going back to the draft strategy for fantasy football, I think in this league. For this year, I'm going a little bit different. Like Sean, you said, wide receivers and quarterbacks are a little bit are more important for your draft strategy. I think I want to go a little bit more running back heavy because I think there's so little few wide receivers that you can really depend on. Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, and Justin Jefferson are probably the only running backs or wide receivers that you can really, really depend on to get you some consistent points, and if that. So I think if you can get a good, dependable RB1 that's going to get the workload for their team, then that's going to pretty much trump any deficiencies you can have at the quarterback or the wide receiver position. Because, like I said, wide receivers are kind of boom or bust. They can have good games. They can have games where they're locked down outside of people like the three I mentioned who are going to be undoubtedly the number one target share on their team. Who's they're drawing up plays for them. They're getting the red zone targets, and they just have big play potential. So. I'll start off going for a running back like Christian McCaffrey if he's available, who really goes in the first few picks. A Nick Chubb, because Nick Chubb has been a player who has proven himself year after year after year, just a dog, a pit bull. So that's my strategy moving forward to fantasy football. And then later rounds, you try and grab one of those receivers who, or maybe if not a wide receiver one on a team, a wide receiver two on a team that's a heavy pass offense who has big potential to make plays when their number one guy is getting locked up by one of the better corners in the league. So, tight ends, I don't even look at it until late rounds. Quarterbacks, they're normally gone within those first few rounds. So if you can't get a mobile dual threat quarterback who are like kind of like the go-tos now, right? You're looking at Justin Fields, who's really a running back who plays quarterback. You look at the Jalen Hurtses, the Josh Allens, the Joe
Where are you on
Burrows, and the
Richardson
Patrick
this year?
Mahomes. Richardson, I've been hearing a lot of good things about him. He's going later in all of my leagues, so I haven't had a chance to really watch him play at all. But everyone's talking about grabbing up Richardson and seeing what he does with the Colts this year. So if he's available in the later rounds, once I've already established my running backs and my wide receivers, and I need a tight end, a quarterback too, I will grab Richardson up for sure. But I'm not going for him early, in the draft. So. But that's just my strategy right there. What about you, Anthony? What strategy do you have for fantasy football this year? Keep it a secret, huh?
I will super flex. You're grabbing your quarterbacks. Like, you're not going anywhere without quarterbacks in a super flex league. And if you are going into a week where like you have a quarterback down, you don't really want to throw a tight end or somebody's a running back 2 as your super flex. You're going into a gunfight with a knife.
Yep.
So for me, Superflex, you're going to grab your quarterbacks early and often. Definitely load up on wide receivers. I see wide receivers a little bit differently than you. I don't disagree that like you can have a lot of consistency issues sometimes with like especially wide receiver 2s and 3s, but there's enough of those slot guys that'll hoover up targets that you can like populate your depth chart with at least some quality. Like you, stay away from tight ends early. If you can't get Kelsey, you're playing a different game than the guy that got Kelsey.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. Like you either have Kelsey or you don't. Even like Kittle last year was just not. He was having a down year too. So and he's not
really inconsistent
until the end of the season when he started picking it up. He started going crazy.
Yeah.
This is the first year I got Kelsey, and he's hurt now. So I was like, sweet. I'll just take. I never had him before. He's gonna get a shit ton of points, and then I may know it's only a week or two, but I was like, damn. Still, of course, that was my first pick. Come on.
So guys, with the Kelsey injury, are we still going after Kelsey in the first round?
Yeah, I think. Depends where you're at. If you're at like 5 or 6 or 7, and he's still
first
there.
First round, first pick, going Kelsey.
No.
First overall pick, no. For me, it's like if you can't get Hurts, Mahomes, or Allen. I mean, even Burrow, like he's coming off a calf, and we saw how he played the first 4 weeks last year. I was like, well, calf injuries are tough. So I was like, and then Lamar Jackson, I was like, his injury history. That's why I picked Kelsey over those two at 5. Mm-hmm. But I think we're at 8. Are we 8 or 10 man tonight? I can't remember. Either 10. Way, 10. 8 or 10. I was doing 12 people leagues for Superflex. So if you're doing 10, you still have a good chance of getting another good quality quarterback on the way back if you decide to go Kelsey or Jefferson, because that's where you gotta decide. Like I did. Like Anthony's right. Like if you could get great quarterbacks early, that's wonderful. But I just you know what? I'm banking on getting guys like Derek Carr who have an really easy schedule and an easy division. If I can get a guy like him and then get like Devontae Adams and Travis Kelce, I'd take that, because I mean there were some people in that draft who they went quarterback. They got Mahomes and Tua, and they got running back. They didn't get a receiver till like the 7th round, and their starting receivers, like their number 1 receiver is Terry McLaurin. So I was like,
Scary Terry ain't bad.
No, he's not bad, but I mean, like I said, I got like 3 wide receiver 1s. That's why I was like, I could put one at the super flex position if one of the quarterbacks is on a bye, because they're going to put up like quarterback 2 numbers, or not quarterback 2, but Kenny Pickett or Derek Carr numbers. And if they're on a bye, but I mean, if you can get a guy like Hurts, Allen, Justin Fields is like a 2nd round, from what I've noticed in the leagues. You could probably grab him in the 2nd round, maybe 3rd, but all depend. Things can change drastically. I was expecting to get Jefferson at number 5, and then
goes early.
Yeah, my friend that picked before me was going to get Allen at 4, but then Allen went number 2 because number 2 was a Bills fan too as well. So he picked Josh Allen, and then my friend picked Jefferson at 4. So I was like, damn, now I gotta change my trajectory. But I mean, we got Jake and Brett in the draft, and they're gonna probably pick the whole Bills team. So it's gonna be
their homers can be.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some very interesting picks, especially early. I already had 2 drafts. I've seen some very, very interesting early picks. So I don't expect anything less from our draft tonight. So I'm looking forward to it. Anthony, were you done with your points, by the way?
Yeah, no, that's basically it. Just hold on to tight ends a little bit later. Load up on wide receivers as much as possible. Make sure you have enough quarterbacks, and then pray that some of the halfbacks that you find later in the draft actually hit a little bit. Go out, go ham on that Colts backfield because I don't think JT is going to play for them ever again.
Yeah,
And then maybe Deuce Vaughn picks up catches some balls out of the backfield for the Cowboys.
Somebody will pick up JT. I got a feeling.
Yeah, I was about to say I got what's it called, Deion Jackson in all of my leagues. So everyone's like, "Well, he's going to come back after week 4." I was like, "No, I don't think he's coming back. I don't think he wants to come back."
Dude,
so
Evan Hull led all college backs in receptions last year.
He looked good.
Do not sleep on that 7th-round pick.
I know he's hurt right now, though. I think he's hurt.
He looked good in preseason.
Hull?
I think he's hurt. I
don't think so. He played in the last preseason
Zach
game.
Moss was the other.
Zach Moss
is hurt.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. All right,
but
Keith,
he wasn't
last
that
but
good
not
anyway in Buffalo. But he should be back, I think, by week 5 or so, because I think he got hurt like early in camp, like the first day of training camp. So I think I don't remember how long the recovery was, but he'll definitely be back. If you need like some people do that thing where they get both running backs on the team in case one of them gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But I like Anthony said, Hull looked really good, and he ran when we played against the Colts in first week of preseason, and he ran pretty hard. He looked really good. And the Colts always have a pretty decent O-line, and then you got a guy like Anthony Richardson, so they're always respecting that as far as a mobile quarterback, even though he's a rookie. So that's a guy that was mentioned. You can get running backs later on that people might not think about grabbing. So if you can't get a good running back early, like a Nick Chubb or Derrick Henry, there's a guy like Hull you could get later on, and he'll be pretty solid.
Okay. And Keith, we'll go ahead and get your thoughts. Let that be the final point for tonight.
Draft strategy.
Yes, sir.
Don't take draft advice from Dolphin Keith. That's the strategy. I'm notorious for not drafting any Patriot, Jet, or Bill on my team. It's not a winning strategy. I acknowledge that. I don't care. I will not cheer for a Patriot, Bill, or Jet to do well. Never.
I don't draft Jets either, just so you know. Like it clouds my thinking. I do dumb things.
See what I do with that is I'm like, I hope they do good, but I hope my team still wins. So I hope Kelsey puts up 50 points, but I hope we still beat the Chiefs.
See, it just feels wrong to cheer or even feel any sort of joy if Josh Allen throws a touchdown pass. It just feels wrong all around. So my in my current league, I have Tua as my backup quarterback, and that's the only Dolphin I have on my team. So basically, as far as strategy goes, don't take strategy advice from this guy right here.
All right, I appreciate the honesty for sure, and I get that. I get the mixed feelings too, because when you get so wrapped up in fantasy, you stop cheering for teams, you start cheering for players. So I've had plenty of times where I've the Bills have played the Patriots, and I want the Patriots to win, but I got Josh Allen starting for me, so I want Josh Allen to go crazy. Get 4 rushing touchdowns if he can. But it's like at the end of the day, I still want the Patriots to win, which is kind of tough if you got the quarterback getting 28 points by himself. So it's very interesting. It's a very funny.
Just try it once, Keith.
No,
yeah, just try it one year maybe.
I mean, think about it. You're doing that. You're doing that for regardless anyway for normal. So say you get Justin Herbert, now you got to root for Justin Herbert week 1. So
yeah, I'm not going to root for Justin Herbert though. Like I have Keenan Allen in my league. I hope Keenan Allen gets 0 receptions for 0 yards. He can go off the rest of the season. I don't care, but I hope Keenan Allen falls flat on his face on Sunday. I mean, my Dolphins, they win. They as far as emotions go, they win out, and I don't want to feel conflicted about a touchdown pass from Aaron Rodgers to Garrett Wilson because I have Garrett Wilson on my roster.
You're just
no.
Well, Keith, you're a Dolphins fan through and through. I can say that much.
Yeah.
Through and through.
I mean, it's just how I've always operated. I had Gronk in the first year he went off, and Gronk scored a touchdown, and I cheered and I thought, what the hell is wrong with me? What the hell is wrong with me? And you know what? I swear to you guys, I put Gronk on waivers that Sunday night. I
Oh
dropped
And
him from
money
my team.
money on the
no.
line. I'll cheer for
That's
anybody.
Dropped him.
different. That's
Wow.
different. To drop Gronk and prime Gronk and put him on
Yep.
the waivers just because you're a Dolphins fan. That's
Yeah.
dedication.
Why not even just trade him? Like,
I don't know.
I
The
do
I
Bills,
respect
wanted
it,
him off my
Keith.
roster as soon as possible.
I do
I-
respect it, and
I respect it
I'm
too.
sure we all feel the same way. Like we're all our team first, but
Yeah.
most of the fantasy leagues I do it for money, and I want to win that money. So
Oh yeah,
I
I
was-
mean, I want to win the money too, but I just
you just make
not
it harder on yourself.
not at the expense of the Dolphins. They lose enough. I don't want to be cheering for them to lose too, or have mixed feelings about something good happening to them.
Even
Yeah,
Mike's
that's-
saying, "Holy moly!"
Yeah, that was my thoughts
Mike doesn't
exactly,
even
Bills
touch.
fan. Yeah,
Yep.
dropping Gronk because he scored a touchdown on your team, you cheer for him is kind of
It's
crazy to me. But
It's a true story, Bills fan. That happened. I put
Yep.
Gronk on waivers that night.
that's amazing. That's amazing. So, but I'm looking forward to the draft that we have tonight, gentlemen, and it's going to be fun.
20 minutes.
Yeah, about 20
Yep.
more minutes. I know so let's go ahead and close this up and get ready for that. Any closing thoughts from you guys? Let's start with Keith. Any closing thoughts from you?
I'm just looking forward to football being back. Thursday, I will be watching the Chiefs and Lions, and then all day Sunday, I'm going to be parked in front of the TV, cold beer in my hand,
The only way
probably
to do
slice
it.
of pizza hanging out of my mouth, watching football all day long.
Love to hear it.
It's back, and I could not be more excited for it.
All right, love to hear it. Love to hear it. Anthony, let's go ahead to you. Any closing thoughts?
I cannot wait for the end of week one, like starting a week two overreactions. Half the league is going to be winners. Half the league is going to be losers. It's going to be depressing for some people. It's going to be amazing for other people. Can't wait.
Yep. Definitely looking forward to. I can't wait to hear the banter after the conclusion of the Jets and the Bills game. That's going to be probably the highlight of next week for me. So I'm looking forward to that. Sean, any closing thoughts for you, my friend?
Yeah, well, first Mike said go Lions before he said go Bills, so I'm gonna have to talk to him after this for that. But
You sure did.
love working with you guys. You guys are incredible. Put on another great show. And speaking of the Bills Jets game, I was talking to my other friends about it. I'm like, you know what? For either team, it doesn't matter what happens because say the Bills win, then they're gonna say, well, the Jets didn't. Aaron Rodgers hasn't been acclimated yet. Wait till the next time they play. But if the Bills lose, they're gonna say, well, the Bills sucked anyway. The Jets are going to win the Super Bowl. So, like, no matter what happens, either team is going to have the opposite, thing kind of happen. So, if the Jets lose, people are going to be like, well, maybe they're not as good as we thought. But then if the Bills lose, they're going to be like, well, are the Jets better than the Chiefs? Are the Jets better than the Bengals? Are the Jets better than the Bills? So, like Anthony said, it's still overreaction week 2. But regardless of what happens, like week 1, I know it all matters to me. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's only week 1. But the Bills could lose, the Patriots could win, the Dolphins could win, the Jets could win, and that's not going to show what happens at the end of the year necessarily. It's going to matter more for our division, I think, because our schedule is so tough. So each game really, really matters. But no, Anthony's going to be here. I know.
I'll be here. I ain't scared.
But yeah, so because I see a lot of people in other channels, like the other fans comment, whoever wins Bills Jets week 1 is going to win the division, and it necessarily isn't true. And it matters. Everything matters, but the Jets could lose one division game and then win the next 5. The Bills could lose one division game, win the next 5. The Patriots could get first place. Like we're not going to know till midway, but it's going to be fun. I mean, just the fact football's back. I don't know. I won't be able to watch much on Sunday because I'll be working again, unfortunately. But I don't like to hate on the Chiefs because it seems like I'm a hater. But I want them to lose, especially this week because Nick Wright. I think it's a fake tattoo, but he got a tattoo about them going 20-0. And without Chris Jones and without Travis Kelce, I have a good feeling that they're probably not going to win this game. And it'd be really funny. I know it's a fake. He's got to be fake. There's no way he'd do that. But if it is real, that'd be absolutely incredible if they lose week 1 right off the bat. And then, you're even more stupid than you look. So looking forward to that. Like Mike said, Jack Campbell, he's a guy that we looked at pre-draft, starting for the Lions. He's going to be a good player in this league. And, I had a soft spot for the Lions because a couple years ago, they were always a team that was always in the games, but always ended up choking in the last second, even the bad teams. And I'm just like, man, I love their uniforms for one. And two, I was like, they got a lot of heart. Like, I know they choke in the end, but they're always trying. They always work hard. And then Dan Campbell's like, people make fun of him because he gets emotional, but that's an amazing part of coaching is you care about it so much. You care about your team so much that you're not afraid to be emotional in front of the public. And, they're a sleeper team, I think. I think they're a little bit overconfident, too, to start. They think they're going to run away with the division. I want to sleep on the Packers, honestly, either. But it'll be interesting to watch. There's always crazy stuff that happens in the year, so I'm just looking forward to it. And, again, I appreciate you guys coming on here and, helping Mike and the Nickel City Mafia grow their channel and grow the summit as well. Mike and Jake, everybody involved in this is incredible. Brett behind the scenes. And, again, you guys – I don't think too highly of myself often, but being with you guys, I just think we're a wonderful team and looking forward to every week. I'm not going to be on here every week, but I've been lucky and fortunate to do 3 weeks in a row. So I know Anthony, just for you and everyone else watching, I argue more than Brett and Jake will. So don't expect it from them once they come on. They're going to just be like, yeah.
Hey, listen, I personally love it because I never like a podcast where everyone agrees on everything with one another, and it's just like, oh, we're all in agreement, because at the end of the day, that's not how reality works. So I want to see the arguing. I want to see, the emotions flowing, because football is the game where you root for your team. You pick your team when you're young, and you just kind of stick with them. So that's why I'm from New York. I was born and raised in Queens, but I'm a Patriots fan because I picked my team early. Back when right after Bledsoe got swapped out for Tom Brady, and I used to watch the games with my dad. I've been a Patriots fan ever since. So everyone always asks me, how could you be a Patriots fan when you're from New York? That was just my team. That was just the team I started watching to help me fall in love with the game. So, but yeah, always a pleasure work with you guys. Always good to see you guys. I don't have too many closing thoughts. I'm just like Keith and like most of you guys, I'm very excited to football to be back officially. 2 more days until the game officially starts, and we get to watch Kansas City play the season opener. So I'm really excited for that. I'm probably gonna grab me a beer, go sit somewhere, and just watch the game and just soak it all in. But hoping our Patriots pull it out this week. Not really looking forward to our matchup. We got a tough matchup, but we have tough matchups all year long. So just hoping that we make some upsets in our offense, and all the work we put in the offseason really comes together, and we get back to that championship caliber team that we've always been. So always a pleasure working with you guys. Looking forward to it. And like we did mention, we are a part of Nickel City Mafia now, so we're looking forward to growing our channel with them, and looking forward to growing AFC East Summit and continuing to work with our wonderful reps. Keith, Anthony, welcome. Our Jets rep. Love having you here. Sean, whether it's you or Jake, it's love having you guys on board with us. So I'm looking forward to continuing just doing our thing and growing together as a team. All right. All right. So, all right, guys, it's been a great week. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Thank you for your comments. Love to see the participation in the comment section. Always going to pull it up. Guys, thank you, and we'll see you next week. I'm Chris from Pass Nation. Take it easy.
We're back, baby. Let's go.
Finally made it.
Here we go.